Hey, what's up everybody? This is Like It's 1985, and today we are going to take a look at Transformers 4 Age of Extinction, Voyager class, Evasion mode, Optimus Prime. And I have to say, truthfully, this is my favorite of all four of the movie Optimus Prime figures thus far released. Fantastic figure for a Voyager class figure. The reason I like it so much, well, one is because of the alternate mode, which we'll get to, which is a homage to Generation 1 Optimus Prime in his cab mode, which is a flat nose cab. But just overall, the proportions of this figure, in terms of the legs relations to the body versus the arms, everything seems to be an almost perfect proportion. Other figures we've had in the past, they're out of proportion, like the torso is too small compared to the legs and so forth. This figure in robot mode is very nicely proportioned in my opinion. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a close look at Optimus Prime here in robot mode. He does come packaged in robot mode from the factory, so we'll take a look at robot mode first, then the transformation, and then finally we'll look at the alternate mode. Now starting off, you can see he does come with a rifle, or blaster, or whatever you want to call it, and it does peg into either hand. It's got a firing mechanism right here. Missile comes out, and the thing about this is the missile looks good even when it's stored in the gun like this. It kind of looks like a separate piece of the gun. It looks very well integrated into the actual gun here. The gun itself is actually nicely sculpted. The color of the plastic, while it is kind of a gray, it's more of a shiny gray, if that makes any sense. It's not really a dull gray. So overall it looks good. It'd probably be better to maybe have it in black with a little bit of dry wash, but you can see there's a lot of nice detail just in the sculpt. So we'll set that to the side and take a look at Mr. Prime here in detail. So let's start off, of course, with the head sculpt, and I have to say this is a very nice head sculpt. I really honestly do. I don't really get excited about Optimus Prime figures. Nothing wrong with the figures that we've seen in the past, but this one is, to me, stands above the rest in terms of the movie line Optimus Prime figures. So starting looking at the head sculpt, you can see very nicely detailed in terms of the sculpt. Nice silver paint there for the face, and the really blue surrounding the head. And that's the other thing I like about this Optimus Prime here. It is very nicely colored with the choice of plastic colors, with the blue and the red. That really is nice. Of course, we've seen red and blue before because that's what basically Optimus Prime is, but this guy is a solid red and a solid blue, which is more like the G1 Optimus Prime toy. So that's fantastic. You can see here on his chest he's got some nice window detail going on, as well as some detail here on the center of his chest. Nice detail here in the groin area as well. Sculpt wise, it's nicely detailed. You got some nicely detailed thighs here, and the rest of the leg we can take a look at quick. Bottom of the feet, and the back of the figure. Now the nice thing about this is the back of the figure even looks decent. You know, sometimes you'll have a lot of kibble on the back, you'll have a lot of parts hanging off, or it just looks plain fugly. This doesn't look half bad. I'm not saying it looks perfect or beautiful, but it doesn't look bad. It looks fairly decent for the back of the figure. And like I said, to me it seems well proportioned. I'll do some size comparisons in just a minute here, and you'll see the difference in proportions, but I think overall this guy is fairly well proportioned. Nothing is too big in relation to the other part of his body. Really nice. So with that said, let's take a close look at articulation here. Well, as you can see, there actually is 2 points of articulation at the head area. You've got sort of a swivel joint there at the base of the neck, or the neck itself, I would say, and then the head itself is on a ball joint. So you got options there to pose the head. Shoulders on a ball joint, or actually not a ball joint, but this type of joint, whatever that is. So basically go all the way around, out that far to the side, swivel at the bicep, a bend at the elbow, and the hands on a simple swivel. There's not much you can do with the hands except for swivel them. Waist articulation is present, so no problem there. And then you have a lot of leg movement here, and these are on that type of joint. I don't know what you call that type of joint, but it does allow a wide range of movement there. Swivel, as you can see, bend at the knee to that degree. Then you have side to side at the ankle, and forward and back So really nicely articulated. So next up, let me go ahead and bring in some size comparisons. For the first size comparison, here on the right is Transformers Prime, Robots in Disguise, Optimus Prime. And he actually is shorter if you compare head to head with the AOE Optimus Prime. Get a look up close here. So if I raise the camera here, you can see that the new Prime here definitely is taller. This guy is broader shouldered, but this guy is definitely shorter, as you can see. For the next size comparison, on the right, of course, is Dark of the Moon Voyager class Fireburst Optimus Prime. So you can get an idea there of the size difference. But more importantly, I would note that the proportions on the AOE figure here are much, much better than the proportions here. You can see this guy has a very, very, very tiny chest torso area as compared to his legs. So really nice job here in terms of proportions. So that's good. So you can see AOE Prime is taller even than his previous counterpart from the previous movie toy line. So you can see the difference there. They're pretty much straight up chest to chest, and this guy's looking up to him. So there you go. But just for fun, here is G1 Optimus Prime next to AOE Voyager class Optimus Prime. And on the right here is Dark of the Moon Voyager class Megatron. And you can see the size difference there as well. Here is Dark of the Moon Voyager class Shockwave. And you can see the height comparison there. Alright, so now that we had a look at size comparison, let's move on to the transformation into vehicle mode. Okay, so let's go ahead and transform Prime here into his vehicle form. First thing we're going to do is we're going to start with the legs and the feet. So we're going to take the legs here, there's a section right here, rotate it down and around, and then collapse the feet as flush as possible. Of course, we do the same thing over here. Rotate that bit down, around, and the feet come down. Make sure they're all the way down on both sides, and they should tab together just like this. Then you want to take the figure, rotate up the torso like that. So you got the figure looking at like that now. Now we begin with the chest area. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to untab the sides here. These are tabbed into the sides in the front. Kind of just tab them out to the side a little bit. That should free up this section here. And by this section I mean this section right there. Get that out into the back like that. And just out of the way for now. That will be the last thing we put on for the transformation into alt mode. Next thing you want to do, take these panels here, swing them out to the side. Take this center section here, make sure you get this out. Like that. And I usually just put it up like that, around like this. And then we can begin the fun part. And you want to make sure that there's little panels here. You fold these up like that and like that. And you can see these are going to be the sides of the vehicle form. So the trick here is to get these arms in this section to go in between here. And you basically want to finagle the arm such that you can get enough clearance to get this arm in this position here. Okay, I think I needed to get a little bit more of the arm up there, and now maybe this will work. There we go. Let's see if I can do a better job on this other side. Of course, everything else works out better off camera than it does on camera, but the idea basically is you got to bring the arm up into this narrow space, and I think I found that the solution to the problem is you need to bring this kind of like the bicep area is far up like that, and that allows you enough clearance to bring this piece around and down. So there you go. So these panels get folded back here to kind of close off the back just a little bit. Now this bit here needs to be from here to there. You can see it's like this when it's in the robot form. You want to make sure it's like this so that you can tab in this section, and these red bits here need to go under the plastic, the gray plastic here. So I'll show that as best as I can. And you may need to lower this a little bit. There we go. Maybe you can see that this red piece is going underneath the gray piece there. And you can see there's tabs on the side here. So that should tab into place on the side. Here we go. There's one side tabbed in. And you can see how this piece kind of got folded back in. You might need to kind of just bring it back out and get all the tabs lined up, and there you go. So finally, you can see the head still exposed. I'm going to bring this piece down and around like that. That's going to fill in the top and the front section like so. Okay, so let's have a close look at Optimus Prime Evasion mode here in vehicle form. And as you can see, it definitely is a homage to Generation 1 Optimus Prime. And for that reason, I really liked picking up this figure, because I was a kid back in the 1980s, and I grew up with the Generation 1 Optimus Prime. So having a alternate mode here to basically reproduce that is pretty cool. Nice silver paint here along the sides. You've got a kind of a reversed Autobot symbol there on either side. And of course you got nice silver paint here in the front, on the bumper, on the side mirrors here. So pretty cool. Looking at the back here, you can see there's a couple ports here. You can plug in the gun. It fits the that port there, so it can go in there as well. And there isn't really a place where you can plug in a trailer, as far as I can tell. There may be one in the future, perhaps, but you can see the detail back there, and it's pretty decent back here as far as just the overall look of the figure. You can definitely see the feet here, but you know, it's not too bad. Of course, the front is better. It does roll really well, so there's no problem there. And let me go ahead and show you a comparison with Generation 1 Optimus Prime, just for fun. So on the right here I have Generation 1 Optimus Prime, of course in vehicle form, as compared to the new figure. And you can see they're close in size and scale. It's pretty cool. And we can look at the front here. Of course on the left, the newer toy is quite a bit bigger in terms of just the overall front area of the cab. But you do have a look at those two figures compared to each other. Here on the right is Dark of the Moon, Voyager class, Fireburst Optimus Prime. So you can compare the two Voyagers from the two separate movie lines. And of course they have different cab designs, so there is that style difference there, of course. But you get an idea of the size and scale. And on the right here, as a comparison, is the Transformers Prime, the RID version of Optimus Prime. And if you want to, if you really want to, you can plug in the big gun on the top. There's a single port on the top of the cab. Alright, so here is the trailer from the Dark of the Moon Deluxe class, I believe, Optimus Prime figure. And the trailer, as you can see, in terms of overall scale and size, is almost perfect. However, it doesn't really fit well because the wheels are too down low. As compared to where the cab section wheels are. You'd have to have the trailer be like this to make it actually look good, and then of course drop down the wheel somehow. So the trailer itself is in almost perfect scale with the cab section. Of course it would have to be heavily modified in order to even have it look decent, but you know, you get an idea just of what might be possible. Okay, just a quick look at the box. The figure does come packaged in robot mode. It does feature some very, very nice artwork here. Let's take a close look at this because it is worth taking a look at. Really nice. On the back, of course, you have a picture of robot and vehicle mode, a picture of Voyager Grimlock, and a brief bio. So final thoughts on this figure. Well, as you can see, I brought out my rotating display base, and whenever I bring out my rotating display base, that means I really like that figure. And in this case, I really do like this figure a lot. Just because of the fact here in robot mode, there's solid colors, the red, the blue, nice detailed head sculpt, a nice looking weapon for once, and the proportions of the chest versus the legs versus the arms I think are very, very good. Also, of course, I love the fact in vehicle form that AOE Voyager Prime here in vehicle form is a homage to the Generation 1 flat-nosed truck. So that is really, really cool. And I recommend the figure. If you like what you see here and what I showed you, I don't think you're going to be disappointed when you pick the figure up. I don't say that often, so I do like this figure a lot. I have no plans at this time to pick up the leader class figure. I think this is a better figure like this, and I wish this could be made into a leader class figure. That would be awesome. Alright, well, thanks for watching. This has been my review of Transformers 4 Age of Extinction Voyager class Evasion mode Optimus Prime.